And so we are just going to go with the flow. We know that everything is in divine order, and we're going to value and empower each other and ourselves. You know, today's message, as we've been looking at the entire month of the monthly theme of listen to your heart, listen to your heart. That is exactly what's been practiced even now as we've been reading and listening to people share about the vision and mission. You know, that when we can pause enough to listen to our hearts. Now, the heart, you know, many people could go, oh, you know what, this is really silly. The heart is just a muscle. It's a muscle that pumps and pumps blood. But don't you know that the heart, as it pumps blood and as it receives oxygen, it takes the very best oxygen and keeps it for itself. It keeps it for itself and then continues to send off the rest into some of the other organs and the other systems. Now, some of us have been trained to think, oh, how selfish and self-centered of the heart to do that. To keep all of the best oxygen, the best of the best as it is pumping and keeping the blood system going. But pause for a moment and think about why it might keep the very best oxygen. And think about that for a moment for yourself as we begin to quote unquote listen to my heart or listen to your heart. The reason that the heart keeps the very, very best is because everything else is interdependent upon the heart. If the heart were only to keep the poorest quality, then how could it continue to function and do its work? So in essence, the heart is actually functioning from a place of genius. It is not necessarily depriving the other organs or functions from having their best, but it indeed recognizes what is for its best and continues to take what is best and continues to keep the body going and in motion. And so as we look at today, as we look at today's theme under the big monthly theme, it's the great work of your life. The great work of your life. And as I look at this gallery of faces, and as I know many of you, if not all of you, and can't wait to meet some of you, I think about the difference in where we are in our stage of eternality. And in our stages of eternality, we are all eternal beings, and yet some of us got the physical flesh suit earlier than others. And some of us have been in our flesh suit for a lot longer than others. Reverend Kevin's laughing. And so when I talk about the great work of your life, for some of us might be saying, oh, great, because I've been really wanting to like really know what my dharma is, like what my purpose in life, what sparks me. I really want to discover that for myself. And others are been there, done that. What else? And how does this talk really apply to me? If I see Bertha raising her hand, she's like, hey, that would be me, right? You know, and then some of us are like right in the middle of really living our dharma or really discovering our life's purpose. But what I'm here to share with you is that one's life purpose or life's work in this human plane is not necessarily about, you know, making a huge difference in the world as much as it is about making a difference in our world. Okay, so when you think about your world. Like, who is your world? Who is involved in your world, whether it's your family or your spouse, your world, mi vida, mi amor, that whole mi mundo, mi cielo, my sun, my sky, my world. Who is part of your world? Because each of us has a world of our own, this sphere, groups of people, or a family structure that is our world. And when I think about what is dharma and discovering my life's purpose, it's really about uncovering what is your sacred work. And it doesn't really matter how long we've been in this flesh suit, how long we've been in these physical bodies, to rediscover and to get connected with our sacred work. And for many of us, we've had many sacred works. I like to think that my whole life has been serial sacred work. Serial, there's this thing called serial monogamy, but it's for me, I like to think that my life's work has been serial sacred work, that it's been one sacred work after another sacred work after other sacred work. And it is important that we never lose track or lose sight that irrespective of the number of candles that we blow out every year on the cake, that we begin to actually take an honest look at what is our sacred work. What are our gifts and talents that we get to contribute to the world? I'm laughing because for those of you who may not know, our practitioners and ministers are over here putting cereals like Lucky Charms and cornflakes. I don't mean that kind of cereal. But it's so good to be able to smile and laugh, because what's important here is really, really having that opportunity to be in joy. Like, what is it that brings you joy at this stage of your life? And having that opportunity, beloveds, to really look and not to be afraid. I know that for me, when I think about, I get to be in charge of some property, and we have, grass and trees and things of that nature. And you know what? I could go out there and cut the grass. I could go out there and weed. I could do that. Question is that really living in my genius? Is that the thing that makes me thrive? Is that the thing that I feel most compelled to do as a living, as a way of expression? And for many people, it is. They love pushing a machine, or cutting that grass and doing certain things. Now, some people do it because it's a way to make an honest living and do something else. For me, I would rather live in my genius. I would rather live in what is like above my excellence and do that so fiercely, so thoroughly, just so freely, and have that compensate me so that I can actually pay others to live and do what they dream of doing and being. The question is, are you bold enough? Are you courageous enough? And here's my challenge at whatever age we are you courageous enough to stop existing and start thriving and living in your genius? Not because you have to make money with it, but because your life and your life expression is actually dependent upon you living in the fullness of God, expressing as you. Are you courageous enough to sit for a moment, for maybe even 10 minutes a day this week, and just be in a silent meditation, asking yourself, what is mine to be? Not to do, but what is mine to be? Like, where is it that I shine the most? Like, what is it in me that brings me the most joy? Because I'm gonna guess that there are some of us that are just kind of taking this COVID hiatus and not necessarily searching within ourselves to express, even in the confinements and in the limited areas that we can be in. I'm going to guess that many of us are resigned to really doing that kind of work. And that it's just kind of like a waiting game. Well, when this is over, then da 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 da. Or, you know, when there's a great comedian on one of the social media channels, you know, when they open outside again, you know, like, oh, I can't wait for outside to open again. I can't wait for the outside to open, you know. It's like shopping at Ross, open, open, open. I can't wait for the store to open. I can't wait for outside to open, for life to open up again. And yet we have not been doing the work necessary to even know who we are, what we're going to be, how we're going to be in the world once the world opens up again. Because the bottom line is that I'm in my world right now, and that this is no accident. And am I courageous enough at this stage of the game to ask myself some questions like, I'm at my best when? And when I'm at my best, what is the exact thing that I'm doing? Is it, you know, is it exploring your creative talents and writing songs or writing poems or drawing or expressing yourself in those ways? I'm sure it's not being the couch potato, watching Netflix after Netflix and binging on, you know, the newest series. Is it then really having enough courage to ask, what is it that I love doing, and how is it that I love being? And what is it that I could do for long stretches of time? Long stretches of time that I don't even realize I'm in it, and that it's just a joy. Because I'm going to say, beloved, that especially now, in whatever time space you find yourself, that you are God expressing right where you are. You are God expressing right where you are. That the perfection and the wholeness of God is you. And that to the degree in which you find what your genius is, what that spot of excellence is for you, and begin being that right now, even as you practice at home, on the telephone, on a Zoom call, if it's connecting with others, if it's having these chats, if it's bringing out the best of other people, and that's where you thrive and that's what you love, then begin being that now. Like, what are you waiting for? You know, it won't be long before we leave these physical bodies, these beautiful, amazing bodies, and we are in the next phase of our eternality. And as someone who's done lots and lots of chaplain work, one of the things that people have said to me in the quiet confidence of their dying stages is, I wish I would have, and they say something. You know what? And it's never, oh, I wish I would have spent more time in the office. But I wish I would have spent more time, you know, loving my wife, loving my husband, loving my partner, loving my family, being. I wish I would have spent more time drawing and really expressing and writing. I wish I would have spent more time walking. Like they, at the last minute, find that joy and that spark. And what I'm saying is we do not have to wait. That in this moment now, it is incumbent upon us to pull out and to let shine that I am presence and let that be. And it can be scary because we got to make ends meet. So we have to do this in order to get there. But there's a process, and we can work up to living from our incompetence, living in our competence, living in our excellence, to living in our genius. And right where we are right now, each of us has that opportunity to live in our genius and to allow the richness and the fullness of that to flow in, through, and as us. So if you have any comments, anything that this has sparked for you, go ahead and unmute yourself or raise your hand, because we have about 4 minutes to hear from you as to what this message has done for you, what it reminds you to do, or what you're moved to do, or something that you discovered about yourself that you are possibly already doing. Hannah, you trying to unmute? Okay, there you go. Go ahead, Hannah.
Everyone, hi.
Hi.
Thank you for that. I love that. During this time, not being able to do physical massage has been a bit difficult for me. I went from working like 20 to 30 massages weekly, and that's how I felt. Like that's how I feel closest to people. That's typically when I feel best about myself, is when I am assisting in the healing of others or kind of being that vessel. So I've just been trying to think of other ways how I can still reach out my hand without maybe physically, with my clients, with my community, for the safety of myself, for the safety of others. So just staying in contact with those people that I would typically be seeing and just asking how I can support them in other ways. But it's been an interesting time too, to see, like, or to realize how many times I will go to reach for my phone in front of Frankie. And now that she's getting older, she's like, don't touch your phone, like we're playing right now. And I'm like, wow, like I'm so grateful that she feels comfortable enough to express how she feels like that too with me. But how many times in my life am I doing that with others during other times in my life where I need to be in the moment? My phone is not going to be what I'm thinking about on those last days, like you spoke about. So it makes a lot of sense to me, and I appreciate that. Thank
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Hannah.
you. Mm-hmm.
Bertha.
Well, first of all, the great work of my life was children, without a doubt. And it's brought me so much joy. But my life's not over. And what you brought up for me is, so now what is my life's work? And in answering a lot of those questions, it actually starts with Hannah. So Hannah and Frankie became my life's work and family. And I'm recognizing that I have this new core of women around that age who gravitate to me. So maybe now it's just being available for them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Beautiful.
that's a great purpose, because look at what I got with Hannah and Frankie.
Right? Look, add water, instant family. Add love, instant family. You know,
Yeah.
like that's it. I love it. George Weatherford says, I love inspiring and accepting others, particularly through mentoring, coaching, and practitionering. So he makes that a practitionering. Let's open up the lines for our callers, those who are just on the telephone. Is there anything that you'd like to say about today's talk, what it meant for you, what it moved you to think or feel? Anybody who's on our call, Dolores, Reverend Don and Vancy, Helen, Larry, Dean, and then we have a caller calling in from 323 that I don't know who that is, but the phone lines are opened up now. Is there something you'd like to speak to?
That Sunshine, that 323 could be the call from Michigan.
It looks like a Los Angeles number, Dolores.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Anyone else then? Our callers are now muted. Beautiful. Well, what I'd like to just simply say is that this is a process. It's not an overnight. And so if you're inspired or moved, the key is to get with a practitioner. The key is to get with someone who can actually help to guide you to discover that for yourself. And it starts right there, right at home, with a spiritual practice of just going within. Who shall I talk to? How, what's my message? What brings me joy? And then moving from there. Speaking of moving from there, we need to move on in our in our program this morning. I'd like to turn it over now to our beloved Reverend Kevin.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Wonderful seeing everyone today. Thank you all for being here. Let's just take a moment to turn inward and just find that secret place of the Most High. Connect with that notion, that idea, that concept, that feeling of a universal good, that presence of a divine intelligence, that wellspring of compassion. And know that all of that is living spirit, that is living God. It is everywhere and within. And therefore, it's everywhere and within me. And what is true for me is true for all beings everywhere. That living God, that living spirit is everywhere and within you too. And within you is that wellspring of compassion. Within you is that divine intelligence. Within you is that universal good. So I speak my word knowing that as all of those facets, those aspects of your divine being come to life, become activated in your life, it is natural then that you follow that guidance, you follow those feelings, you connect with that compassion. And therefore that great work of your life is not really work at all. It's really just that revelation of the truth of your being. It is a revelation of that love and peace and joy, that health and well-being, that creativity, that spark that's already true about you. And therefore it is the play of your life that becomes the most meaningful to you. And now it's becoming the most meaningful to all those lives your life touches. So as you expand that good that's already true, that God that's already true about you, you are filling and fulfilling a more divine, a higher calling. And all that you need to do is just to turn toward love, turn toward light, turn toward good, turn toward God. So seeing that circulation of love, of living spirit, I just say thanks for this answered prayer, this communion in spirit. And I release my word now into the law of mind and action, knowing as it is spoken, it is so. And that good of God, that living spirit, you living spirit, spirit living you, that's revealing, that's activating, that is the truth of your being right now. And together we say, and so it is.
And so it is.
Well, thank you all very much.